like to call to order the September 5th council meeting. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Jackie, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Mayor Evans,
Here.
Vice Mayor Russell,
Here.
Mr. Mitchell,
Here.
Mr. Parrish,
Here.
Ms. Cooper,
Here.
Mr. Redmond,
Present.
Ms. Chamberlain.
Here. And that takes us to our public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the text amendment public hearing?
Second.
Mr. Parrish,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Russell,
Yes.
and Mayor Evans.
Yes. I'll call up Christine. Are you going to start? All right.
Accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, are not addressed, is that on? In the Milford zoning ordinance. Staff has received a number of requests from property owners who would like to add an accessory dwelling unit. An accessory dwelling unit is a second unit located on the same lot as a single-family dwelling. The ADU is subordinate to the single-family dwelling. An ADU could take various forms, such as a detached accessory structure, a garage conversion, a basement conversion, or an addition to a single-family dwelling. ADUs were discussed at the March 8th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. At the April 5th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, staff recommended a zoning code text amendment to add ADUs as a conditional use in several zoning districts. The discussion was continued to April 19th, 2023. At that meeting, Planning Commission voted to instruct the law director and zoning administrator to start the 1133.04 process for a text amendment for accessory dwelling units with a public hearing on June 14th, 2023. The Planning Commission public hearing was held on June 14th, 2023. At that meeting, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend the text amendment for accessory dwelling units to City Council. On July 18th, 2023, the Administrative Services Committee agreed to recommend that the law director prepare an ordinance to adopt the changes to the Milford zoning ordinance to allow ADUs as a conditional use. Under Milford Code of Ordinance, Section 1133.06, City Council is required to hold a public hearing to consider the recommended text amendment. After this public hearing, City Council must vote on the recommended text amendments under Code Section 1133.07. So the proposed text amendment is highlighted in yellow. The yellow would be added to the zoning code. I'll read the definition for accessory dwelling unit that would be added. Accessory dwelling unit shall mean a self-contained dwelling unit designed for occupancy by one family for living and sleeping purposes that provides complete independent living facilities, including its own entrance, kitchen or kitchenette, full bathroom, and sleeping area that is located on the same lot as a larger single-family dwelling that serves as the principal use of the lot and whose use is subordinate and incidental to the larger single-family dwelling. So the accessory dwelling units would be added as a conditional use in the different sections listed here. These are the different residential zoning districts and the Milford River District. In the Milford River District, it would be added as a major building improvement that would require a public meeting, an informal public meeting in addition to the formal Planning Commission conditional use. And just a side note, a conditional use is approved on a case-by-case basis for Planning Commission. So any accessory dwelling unit would be approved on a case-by-case basis as a conditional use. The minimum dwelling size, this is currently in the zoning code. Accessory dwelling units would be an exception, that they would have no minimum dwelling size. The section on accessory use standards, again, the accessory dwelling units would be an exception. The specific standards for each conditional use would apply to the accessory dwelling units rather than the standards for accessory uses. Would you like me to read conditional use standards as well, or?
Probably so, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this would be added to the specific standards for the conditional use for accessory dwelling units. Number one, an accessory dwelling unit may be located within a principal single-family detached dwelling or a detached accessory building on the same lot as a principal dwelling. Number two, parking requirements shall be imposed by Planning Commission on a case-by-case basis. No new access points or driveways shall be created or installed for access to the accessory dwelling unit. Number three, no more than one accessory dwelling unit is permitted on a single lot. Number four, the accessory dwelling unit shall be limited in size to a maximum of 66% of the total living area of the principal dwelling, or 800 square feet, whichever is greater. Number five, the establishment of an accessory dwelling unit within the building envelope of a legally existing single-family dwelling or through the alteration of a legally existing accessory structure is not subject to setback restrictions, provided that the establishment of the accessory dwelling unit does not expand the existing structure's footprint. Number six, detached accessory dwelling units are subject to the side and rear yard setback requirements uses as specified in 1181.08E and 1181.08F. Exception of a legally existing accessory for the purpose of establishing an accessory dwelling unit. Restrictions provided establishment of an accessory dwelling unit does not expand the existing structure's footprint. Number seven, an accessory dwelling unit established as an addition to a legally existing single-family dwelling must comply with all setback requirements for single-family dwellings in the applicable zoning district. Number eight, detached accessory dwelling units are not permitted in front yards. Number nine, detached accessory dwelling units shall not exceed 25 feet in height. Exception, a legally existing accessory structure being converted to an accessory dwelling unit may exceed 25 feet, provided that the establishment of the accessory dwelling unit does not expand the existing structure's height. Number 10, in addition to a principal single-family dwelling that will contain an accessory dwelling unit must comply with all height requirements for single-family dwellings in the applicable zoning district. Number 11, the accessory dwelling shall contain a living area, one bath, and a kitchen or kitchenette, including a refrigerator, microwave oven, and or stove and sink, and may contain not more than one bedroom. Number 12, detached accessory dwelling units must be of permanent construction and must contain permanent utility hookups. Mobile homes and recreational vehicles are not permitted as accessory dwelling units. Number 13, the accessory dwelling unit shall be in harmony and compatible with other buildings or structures located in the neighborhood.
Thank you for all of that. Public comments? Does anyone in the public want to make a comment about accessory dwelling units? And does council have any comments for Christine about accessory dwelling units?
I have some comments. Is currently, since there are nothing on the record of accessory dwelling units, is the city aware of how many accessory dwelling units exist currently?
No, we don't have that information available. I've heard there are some may or may not have been done with proper building permits. It's hard to say, so I don't know.
So if we were to pass this today, how does that affect the current people who may have accessory dwelling units? Do they get grandfathered in, or do they have to be brought up to code? How does that work in terms of enforcement?
Well, if everything was done with proper permits, it would be fine. I mean, if things weren't done with building permits, then that could be an issue where it would need to be brought up to current code.
Thank you. My other comment is obviously we as a council have been dealing with concerned citizens in terms of short-term rentals. Maybe the law director can speak on this. Does the current law that's tied up right now, does that cover any issues with these? Because even just recently we received emails from citizens who are concerned about how even realtors are advertising houses as great rentals, Airbnbs. So I think talking about that would be nice for the citizens, because I know there's a lot of concern in terms of these accessory dwelling units becoming, say, a short-term rental.
Well, I appreciate those questions, Mr. Redmond, because some of them came up during the Planning Commission process, frankly. So a couple things. Let me just start, first of all. I'm old enough to remember President Reagan. We used to talk about the Soviet Union, used to talk about trust but verify. So that's what I'd say to any realtor. Being married to one, I would say trust but verify whatever any realtor tells you about a certain situation. That's point one. That's a little it's a little facetious, but not much. The second thing would be is that no, as long as they're not renting, these ADUs and the STRs are two different things. So no, they would not have any impact on that current case and the litigation and the legislation that's being challenged there in that case. Just so, I don't know if it helps your comfort, hurts your comfort, or has no impact at all, but I would just iterate that both Christine and I, Christine in particular, looked at other jurisdictions' ADUs, because these are now starting to proliferate. So, there have been a number of jurisdictions that are putting these out. Cincinnati, Yellow Springs, and anywhere in between, literally and figuratively. And so we tried to put those together and went through, I think, a very serious vetting process in front of Planning Commission. We had a couple of hearings, a couple of people testified about why this would work, why it wouldn't work. So to answer your question, no, it would not have any impact on the STRs, because you're talking about two different things there.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. I just would like, just wanted on the record the clarity and stuff. I was aware of the conversations you had via the emails we get, but a lot of times citizens aren't part of the process. So thank you for the last almost year you guys have been working on this. And like the law director said, I was aware too of other municipalities and stuff moving this way to add accessory dwelling units.
Yeah, and I to that point, again, Mr. Redmond, I would compliment Ms. Seltzer for putting together kind of an amalgam of the best thoughts based on what Planning Commission said here. Take a look at this. Christine put them together using these other jurisdictions, and I think it's turned out to.
Questions for Ms. Seltzer? And for all your hard work. Is there a motion to close?
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes. All right, that takes us to proceedings. Do I have a motion to approve the proceedings from August 15th?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Abstain.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Financial statements. Do I have a motion to receive the August financial statements?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes. And do I have a motion to adopt the July financial statements?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
All right, thank you. That takes us to our public comment sections. Would anyone in the public like to make a comment? Welcome. Please remember to state your name and address for the record.
Rebecca Geiger, 30 Susan Circle, Apartment 5, Milford, Ohio, 45150.
Welcome.
I want to thank you guys for putting the audible crosswalks in. I love them. Is there a way to make the 5 points audible crosswalks louder? With all of that traffic, it is hard to hear them.
We can check into that, I guess. Yeah, we'll check that to see if they can be turned up or made louder.
And I know you're going to put in 4 more by the end of the year. Do we have a idea of when that might happen?
About the timeline? Right, we will check on that and find out.
And the last thing I've got is I found out that the steps of the bike trail are roped off. Are you guys going to tear them down or fix them?
Steps at the trailhead?
Yeah.
They're being repaired.
Oh, they're
Should be
being
already
repaired.
finished, and then,
Will that take till the end of this year or will it go into next year?
should be ready anytime. I thought
Should
they
be
were
ready
done.
any time, Mr. Doss thinks. So,
It makes it so hard to get up to the bike trail.
we will get back with you about the crosswalks.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Would anybody else like to make a public comment?
My name
Welcome.
is Dr. Douglas Val. I live at 116 Mount Avenue in Milford. My comment is really kind of a question to Mr. Pacheco about the ADUs. Did I understand that they're not allowed to use these ADUs on Airbnb and the like? Because you made a comment about other communities have ADUs and are using them. In WLWT, Channel 5, that the ones in Cincinnati are specifically being marketed and used to be used on Airbnb and VRBO. They have the Bengals, they have the Reds, they have FC Cincinnati. They have a greater propensity to get people to come and rent them. So am I misreading what your statement was?
No, I don't, with all due respect, I don't know what you're reading, so let me reiterate it. I don't know what Cincinnati is doing or not doing with respect to their ADUs and their STRs. I don't know what WLWT reported either, so I'm not going to comment in either way. All I'll say is that you cannot have a short-term rental unless you follow the Milford ordinance, whether or not you have an ADU or not. They're separate things.
Right.
So I don't know how they're marketed. I don't know what anybody's doing in Cincinnati. In Milford, we have a short-term rental ordinance that we're holding off now until the court makes its decision. But an ADU is not a short-term rental. That's all I'm saying. You can have an ADU, but you can't rent it out unless you comply with the rental ordinance, with the caveat being we're not enforcing that pending the court decision.
That's what I thought I understood.
Thank you,
My
Doctor.
only concern is I live on Mound, and I walk that neighborhood 3 to 5 times a week, and parking's atrocious. And I mean, I won't mention addresses, but most houses have more than one car already, and if you have kids, many of them have multiple cars. I know one specifically that has 5 cars in their house, and they've got parking for 1. So they park on the street, which is perfectly all right. But if we're going to have SDRs and ADUs with renters, they're going to bring their cars from who knows where, they have to park somewhere too.
So 2 points. I'm sorry, Doctor, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all right, go ahead.
So 2 points to that. One would be, again, to reiterate, just because you have an ADU doesn't mean you can rent it.
Right.
Fair enough.
Understood.
Second point is, and this was discussed during the planning commission, and there
Right.
was back and forth that the parking requirements are going to be looked at on a case-by-case basis to
That's what I
hopefully,
thought I understood. I just wanted
to
to make
hopefully
sure.
invoke the neighbors to avoid the situation that you're talking about, and that would be one of the conditions.
And my other comment or question would be, hey, we have property in other communities, and if you rent them on VRBO or Airbnb, you have to pay occupancy tax. Will short-term rentals and ADUs, if they're used for that, be
The
Liable to
ADU would, I'm sorry,
liable for the occupancy tax?
the ADU, no. The short-term rental, I don't think we had that in our ordinance either. I don't recall. I don't want to say when we're there, I just don't recall at the moment. But right now, the ADU for sure, no, because there's not one in here either.
Okay,
So no is the answer to the ADUs.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to make a comment? All right, we will continue. That takes us to standing committee reports. Community Development, Mr. Redmond.
Thank you, Mayor. Community Development Committee, 2023, at 5 p.m. Janet Cooper and Kyle Mitchell. Staff was City Manager Michael Doss and Executive Assistant Jackie Bain. The visitors were Christopher Parrish of the Parks and Recreation, who's the chairperson, and Jen Barlow. We began by approving the proceedings from the May 15th, 2023 Community Development Committee meeting. The first order of business was to get an update on the recently resurrected Parks and Recreation Commission, which Christopher Parrish leads up. Mr. Parrish presented the following information to the committee. Recommendations that have come out of the Park and Recreation Commission are as follows. Number one was emergency repairs to the surfaces of Senvilla Park, patch the cracks for now. Number two was send a survey out to residents regarding city parks. Number three was Claremont. I say question mark on that. That's up for discussion that they're thinking about. The commission would like to work together with the city manager to develop a farmer's market at 5 Points Landing. There's an opening currently on the Park and Recreation Commission, and the commission is currently meeting once a month. Park and Rec member Leanna Davis works with the Cincinnati Nature Center and is also an Ohio naturalist. Ms. Davis informed the commission that the Nature Center works on certifying these naturalists and that they require a certain number of volunteer hours to obtain the certification. So they've actually agreed in theory to providing those hours to those volunteers towards their certification if they were to come, for example, and do trail maintenance at the Carriageway Park Trail. The Parks and Recreation Commission is looking at coming up with some type of cooperative relationship with the Nature Center to where the folks will benefit, as well as the city of Milford, by some type of volunteer cleanup without spending taxpayer money to service the parks. The committee members thanked Mr. Parrish for his report. There was a discussion on how to publicize information from the Parks and Rec meetings and how to follow up with recommendations coming out of the commission. Also, discussion on how to enhance events in the city and how to share. Mr. Doss discussed that the grass seeding that was to occur at 5 Points Landing site is now to be done with sod. It is approximately for 1.5 acres total. There was a meeting with DER discussing the benefits of having sod versus seeding. For $49,700 for seeding. The credit for the current seeding, which is built into the revised bid of $26,000. The new pricing now of $23,700, OH&P 15%, and $3,550. Bond insurance 1% of $272, and cat tax 0.3% of $8,258 for a total of $27,610.13. So let me clear that up a little bit. So basically, we had put so much money for seeding. There was a difference in what the city will be now switching to the sod is basically a total of $27,610. Overall, we just discussed that because we thought with the park opening here in the end, maybe end of the month, October-ish, it would be better to have the sod instead of seeding with people walking all over it, and then also have a better chance for that grass to really be established in the spring. Then we had Jen Barlow speak. Ms. Barlow discussed how she agreed with the change order and how it will have a longer benefit of having the sod versus the seeding. Once the sod is established, not having irrigation is not going to be such a big deal. With seeding, it was going to be hard to keep it maintained. Ms. Barlow stated that the sprinkler equipment she could donate to help the city irrigate the sod. The committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance approving the change order associated with the sod at the 5 Points Landing Park in the amount of $27,610.13.
Second.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Ms. Chamberlain?
To discuss how she'd be willing pricing for the spring planting and perennials to be placed at the 5 Points Landing Park site. She could work on getting a quote and the city could save some money, and to possibly organize a community planning day at the new park location. Mr. Doss was not sure how that would work on bidding, but suggested on how that when come out to take a look at the information and be part of the process. There being 5:24 p.m. with a motion for myself, seconded by Mr. Mitchell. We all said yes.
All right, thank you very much for your report. That takes us to Safety Services. Janet Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Safety Services Committee meeting was held on August 29th, 2023. The meeting was called to order at 5:30 p.m. Present were myself, Lisa Evans, and Ben Redmond. Staff was City Manager Michael Doss, Fire Chief Mark Baird, Finance Director Pat Worthland, and Executive Assistant Jackie Bain. Visitors, none. Proceeding, the committee approved the proceedings from the August 9th, 2023 Safety Services Committee minutes. Discussion was the fire and EMS contract. Mr. Doss presented information to the committee that the contract with MCFD, Milford Community Fire Department, will be over at the end of this year. Mr. Doss, along with Chief Baird and Pat Worthland, participated in meetings to go over information for the agreement. The proposed agreement is now presented to the committee. Chief Baird did bring this to the fire board meeting last evening, the evening before, for their approval. They have approved the agreement. Mr. Doss pointed out and reviewed changes in the contract from a previous contract with the committee members, Chief Baird and Ms. Worthland. Chief Baird discussed how he, the city manager, and the finance director get together each year to go over budget information for the department. And they produce an amicable number that suits everyone's needs rather than just picking an arbitrary number for 3 years out. And it is not suitable. Ms. Worthland did discuss her concerns regarding the contract as presented with the committee as to the 7-year term, which outlives the underlying levies. The contract language, which allows only an upward negotiation and the unusually low fund balance remaining under a $3 million contract. Ms. Worthland mentioned that the recommendation of $3 million was based on the assumption that the contract was a 1-year term. After much discussion, the committee members were fine with the contract. I had stated that I trust the fire board and the city's law director, Brian Pacheco's approval of the contract as to the form, and appreciate the recommendation information from the Loveland Sims Fire Department, which is another fire department that funds or operates the same. They are all good recommendations. Chief Baird understands Ms. Worthland's concerns, but he has looked over the numbers going on 10 years now and looked at the city's numbers going on 10 years now. He feels comfortable with what is being proposed, or he would not have proposed the information. Mr. Doss said that he would assume with all parties involved that the relationship will continue. We have a great relationship with the fire department. The board and the department have historically provided outstanding services to the community. Mr. Doss stands by the contract as presented. The committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance to proceed with the fire and EMS agreement contract as written. Lisa Evans abstained.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Abstain?
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes. There being no additional business, we made a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:08 PM, seconded by Mr. Redmond. All yes.
Thank you very much for that report. That takes us to the city manager report. Mr. Doss?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to let council and the public know that our City Hall exterior repairs, those bids are due this Friday, September 8th by 2 o'clock. We've actually had some interest. We've had some companies come out and walk the building with Ed, so we're hoping we get some competitive bids this time around. 2024 landscaping bids, I do want to remind council and public that bid solicitations are expected to be advertised in the next couple of weeks. There will be 2 separate bids that we're looking for with the 2024 landscaping bids. The first will be the regular landscaping and maintenance for all city parks. It's the one that we do every few years. But there's going to be a second piece to that, which will be separate, and that's actually the plantings for 5 Points Landing that will go with the planting plan that was originally instituted for 5 Points Landing Park. So there's going to be 2 separate bids. So interested parties can bid on both or one or whatever they like. 2024 Claremont County Engineering Paving Program. The city intends to provide a letter of interest later on this month regarding participation in the 2024 Claremont County Engineering Paving Program. This does not commit us to this. It's basically the Claremont County engineer is just getting an idea of who is interested. So we'll still obviously come back to council when necessary for approval of participation in that program. The service department is currently in the process of identifying several roads and streets to include in the program. We will be utilizing the recent pavement management study as an identifier based on the selection of the roads and streets for paving next year. Standing committee meetings, there's none at this time. Reminder that September the 13th is our planning commission meeting at 6, and our next regularly scheduled city council meeting is September 19th at 7.
Great, thank you very much. That takes us to the police report. Is Chief Mills back there? No, who's back there? Oh, Chief Mahan. Assistant Chief Mahan, thank you. I couldn't see who was behind the pillar.
Getting back there. It's a good spot to be.
Welcome.
Chief Mills submitted his August report to you guys this afternoon, so I'm pretty sure you probably haven't had a chance to read all the way through it. Only thing I'd add to it was our deadline for our new officer hiring process was this afternoon. We plan on doing interviews next week to get the list together for the Personnel Commission the following week, so hopefully we'll have a new officer here in the next 6 to 8 weeks. The new Tahoes were delivered last week. Get those. The first one went down to Digimax this morning to get it to wrap. You notice a different color, it is black. We didn't have an option, they didn't give us an option for color this year, so it was either black or white, and the black color was gonna definitely blend in a lot better with our blues. So other than that, that's all I got.
Any questions? No? All right, thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you, too. And that takes us to Fire and EMS, Chief Baird. Welcome.
Good evening. Just a few things. We're going to be starting our annual fire hydrant service here next week or two. We do that every year because of the nature of our fire hydrants in the city. They actually have to be pumped clear of any water that may be standing in them to keep them from freezing. That process takes us a couple of months trying to take care of it between runs and all the other activities. So I'll have something on social media about that in the next day or two. Normally what we ask people is be patient. We try not to stir up the water too much, but if you have brown water, you can call the water department. I'll make that number available, and they usually handle that on our behalf. So that'll be starting up shortly. We did company level training, and I want to thank Milford Towing and Equipment Moving for allowing us over the last week to have training along with our mutual aid partners, Miami Township and Madeira Indian Hill, at the Milford Towing lot. They tipped over a school bus that they have available that we've been training on, other departments have been training on for the past couple of years, and do a lot of heavy lifting and other work that we don't get a real great opportunity to do in training very often. So it was really good to see all the firefighters from the different jurisdictions working together on that. I also want to take a minute to thank our neighbor on US 50 Skyworks. Every once in a while we have a need to have something moved or lifted, or a person lifted up in the air around the station for a repair or whatever, and they again came to our aid, very graciously provided us a tow motor to lift a heavy piece of equipment inside of the fire station safely and effectively. So thank you to them. The annual 9/11 Memorial Service is this coming Monday, September 11th, 2023 at 9 a.m. This is we've been doing this clear back to just after the terrorist attack, and has been our practice for the past few years. We'll have a number of City of Milford and Miami Township officials who will be participating in the program. It will last around 20 minutes, and we try not for it to be too intrusive. But again, that's Monday, September 11th, 2023 at 9 a.m. in front of the fire station at the memorial site there. And finally, we are fortunate to have been notified a couple of weeks back that we were the recipient of a FEMA Assistance to Firefighters grant from their Fire Prevention and Safety Program of $4,800, and that $4,800 will be added to our local match, which will bring a project up to $5,000 to purchase an additional 100 of the new residential fire and police key boxes. Our original lot of 40 that was purchased through donations from the Kiwanis and the Police Community Partnership and the Firefighters Club has just about been exhausted, and we feel like that these additional 100 boxes will probably that probably will exhaust the program once those are installed. Again, our target is the elderly and those of homes with either special needs patients or chronic illness, so that the police and the fire department can get in there quickly in a medical emergency without causing undue damage or delay. So we're real proud of that grant. Our department wrote that grant. So again, we've been very successful in trying to bring both our community's federal and state tax dollars, as well as our Bureau of Workers' Compensation premiums, back to the city to the benefit of the city residents. So that's really all I have. I appreciate it. Do you have any questions for me? Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much for your report. That takes us to council comments. Anyone on council have a comment to make?
Just a quick one on the Milford Community Firefighters Club T-shirt sales for Santa Sunday as a fundraiser. It is on their Facebook page. If they have questions, do they call the station?
Yes.
Chief Miller?
Come on, Chief Miller, give us an update. The shirts are very cute this year.
I wasn't ready for this.
Sorry, I just wanted to, yes, Coyotes did the design, and yes, and it's an additional fundraiser for Santa Sunday.
Yeah, and you can find it on our Facebook account. I don't think we put it on Twitter, but through social media you can find them, or call the station and we'll get you hooked up.
All right, thank you. Everybody
Thank you.
get their Santa Sunday shirt for sure.
You'll let everyone know when they're in. Is that correct? Is that how that's
Yes,
on
we'll
the site?
coordinate something that will be pickup and,
Okay,
yes.
great.
Probably
Any
sometime
other-
in October.
Any other comments from council?
Yeah, I had a couple. Regarding Parks and Rec Commission, our next meeting's actually also September 13th at 6 p.m. upstairs. And also to kind of add to those recommendations, there was also a recommendation on emergency repair to the playing surface at Clertoma, while we're looking into what to maybe do with that park, just to make sure that basketball court there is safe for everybody to use. So I just wanted to add that in as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Christopher, what time is that meeting?
6 p.m.
Anybody else? All right, that takes us to Mr. Pacheco and ordinances and resolutions.
Mayor, thank you. Ordinance number 23-237, an ordinance authorizing a change order with DER Development Company LLC for sod at 5 Points Landing Park in the amount of $27,610.13. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Milford, Ohio. Section 1, the City Council of the City of Milford hereby authorizes the city manager to execute a change order with DER Development Company LLC for sod totaling $27,610.13 at 5 Points Landing Park. The terms and conditions of this agreement are fully incorporated herein in their entirety as if fully written herein pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter. Under Section 2, under and in accordance with Sections 12.05 and 12.07 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-237, an ordinance authorizing change order with DER Development Company LLC for sod at 5 Points Landing Park in the amount of $27,610.13.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-238, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to contract with Milford Community Fire Department, Inc. for fire, EMS, and paramedic services. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Milford, Ohio, Section 1. The City Council of the City of Milford hereby authorizes the city manager to enter into an agreement with Milford Community Fire District, Inc. for fire, EMS, and paramedic services. The terms and conditions of this agreement are attached and fully incorporated herein in their entirety as if fully written herein pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter. Section 2, under and in accordance with Sections 12.05 and 12.07 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-238, an ordinance authorizing city manager to contract with Milford Community Fire Department, Inc. for fire, EMS, and paramedic services.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Ms. Evans,
Abstain?
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
All right.
Mayor,
No further business?
I'm
Yes.
sorry, just two things very quickly. The first thing is that during the meeting, Ms. Worthland emailed me something just to confirm, Doctor, that, yeah, there's no occupancy tax with respect to the STR, to answer that clearly for you, so. No, correct. All right, so thank you, Ms. Worthland, for doing that. The other thing, maybe perhaps more importantly, is go Browns on Sunday.
Oh, hey, we have a new day from the audience. Hey, let's look at his contract.
Yeah, right. Well, my one-year anniversary is next time, so maybe I'll. But who's counting?
You're still on.
All right, with no further business, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes. All right, thank you, everyone.
Who day?
Who day?